early May. Lawn is greening up nicely, finally getting weather. Temperatures in the 80s. Zoysia looking good, has been fertilized once this year, has only been mowed once this year. We do have some pretty significant damage in a few of these areas, and that's from the scalping we did last fall, and that was expected. Those should recover fine with aeration, top dressing, and continued fertilization and mowing. A lot of the spring weeds are popping out now. We've got a few interesting ones here. This plant right here looks a lot like nutsedge. Very similar, has the same mid-vein, like indention there, a triangular looking stem, but this is rush. There's several species of this. There's path rush, slender rush, bull rush, and for the most part it does behave a lot like a nutsedge plant. Like soggy areas, you'll often see this near ponds and streams. It's much easier to control though, in an ongoing sense. This is not a weed that you will have problems with getting rid of in a lawn. A few treatments, it's usually gone and you don't see it. And if you let it go like this, which I did just for the fun of it, it will come back up from seed, but not difficult to control. On over this way. This clump here is actually bent grass. Seeded bent grass out here a few years ago on top of the zoysia. And here's another one here. These look a lot like annual bluegrass, but they're not. So most of your putting greens are the creeping bent grass is the traditional variety. Here in the south, a lot of people are converting to a dwarf Bermuda. It's easier to maintain during the summer. But this will blend right in with the zoysia once it's mowed. Now right over here we do have annual bluegrass, and this is a very much a nuisance weed, kind of like crabgrass of winter. Sprouts in the fall, matures over the winter, early spring, sends up these seeds, and every one of these seeds will be trying to sprout on us again this fall. So this is a weed that I don't usually get too much of, and whenever I see it, usually just pull them out like this and pack them out of here so the seeds don't sprout on us. Interesting over here. This is carpet grass. Carpet grass is very similar to centipede grass. It's a wild native species in the southeast, and we do run across lawns out in country areas that are composed entirely of carpet grass. And if it's thick and healthy, it looks very nice in the spring. I leave this here because I like the way that it looks when it's mowed. It's interesting. I'll show you a clip of it later on in the summer so you can compare it to the texture of the zoysia. Over here we've got Virginia buttonweed starting to come up. This is a very tough weed to control. It's a broadleaf species. It's one of the very few broadleafs in this region, and this is in the Piedmont region in Zone 7, that is a perennial. So it can be both annual or perennial, so it will sprout from seed readily, but it can also survive the winter and come back from the main taproot. So let's find out if this is coming from a seed or if this is coming from an old root. And it looks like it's coming from a root down in there. See if we can get it dug out. Oh, hard to tell. Definitely a runner there though, so I'd say that's probably a small shoot which is coming off of a main taproot that's probably feeding this one and all of these. So these I'll typically just spray with herbicide. That's about the only way to control them. Otherwise, turf coming along nicely, so the plan is to mow it again today, do some rolling to continue flattening and smoothing it out. Sometime in the next month or so, we'll aim to do the core aeration and top dressing with a lot of sanded material. That should really smooth it out and help the turf grow back in these thin areas. And we'll give you an update at that time.